Okay, Mr. Nash, can you tell us about your project?
We're building a house for John and Mary Green. It's out on Black Lake, out by the public boat launch. It's a 3,300 square foot single dwelling with a 2.5 car attached garage. And we started excavating probably the 15th of September. We didn't actually start after we had the masons came in and laid the crawl and the garage floor, and I think we started construction on it. I'm trying to think. Started construction on third day of October. Got it framed in and a roof on it a week before deer season. And we are currently inside drywalling and getting ready to prime and paint that, and then we'll start trimming windows and hanging doors and going from there, laying flooring and putting in all the cabinetry and whatnot.
How long does it normally take to build one of these houses?
The house that we're on right now was slated for 6 months from the time we started excavating until we hand them the keys. It's a full turnkey home. Like I said, the framing only took the actual framing to get it off of the block and the walls up and the shingles on it and wrapped with house wrap, protective wrap. It took 2 months. So it pretty much leaves us 4 months to finish the inside, and then when the weather allows in the spring, build the decks and put the siding on. These folks happen to have a move-in date of May 1st, so I'm hoping to have them in by the middle of April. It just looks, I just prefer to try to beat a deadline as opposed to just meet it.
What do you have on your crew?
Well, during the framing process, we had 5 guys. We're down to 4 right now with 1 guy laid off. 5-man crew is fairly efficient, and for a house that size, it worked good for us. We've employed as many as 10 throughout the years. We've been doing this for 30 some odd years, and when things were, when the economy was better, we were building 5 and 6 of these a year. So you need more crew to do that, and right now, it just there's been a lot of downsizing in the downturn of the economy, and we have this place now, so we needed to put on a couple extra guys. But as a rule, we usually support about four guys, plus my father and myself. So it's a very family-based company. My father and myself and an uncle and a cousin and then another man, and then we pick up other workers as we need them, or if we need them. And if things were to boost again, I wouldn't mind being back up to 10, 12 men. That would be great, but we'll see how the world turns.
Is there anything with this particular house that you like doing more than other things?
There will be quite a bit of tile. I started laying ceramic tile about 11 years ago, and it's probably one of my favorite things to do. And this particular house, the bathrooms, the homeowners have picked. They went to a designer, and they actually had some mosaics built, which are basically pictures made out of broken tile. And so I'll have to lay out the patterns and attach them to the wall, make my grid, and then lay the mosaic in, and I'll have to cut my tile to fit them. And it's kind of an artistic kind of touch on tile laying, and it's just something that I've kind of come to really enjoy. I enjoy doing that, and then there'll be a lot of crown moldings and custom cabinetry in this one. It's quite involved, and that kind of stuff, the real niche stuff is what I enjoy the most. Just kind of making it a one of a kind, as opposed to going to Home Depot and buying a bunch of stuff. And
do you do anything other than just houses?
Yeah, we do pretty much everything. We've done a lot of roofing. That's what we were pretty much doing a ton of roofing when I went to work for Dad when I was young. Before I went to work for him full time, we did a ton of roofing. Shingles, steel, a lot of tear-offs and re-roofs and new trusses and stuff like that. And we do a lot of siding, window changes, come in and retrofit all your windows and upgrade them to a newer, higher efficient window. You're not losing a lot of heat out of your windows, and insulating, and pole barns and garages and all that kind of stuff. A lot of siding over the years, redoing, just upgrading houses, remodeling, adding rooms and bedrooms and bathrooms, and we used to do, and now we sub it out a lot, but we used to do a lot of masonry. We used to lay our own block and do a lot of pour floors and sidewalks and stuff like that. But you can only diversify so much. When it gets to the point, you got to decide what you're going to stick with. Plus, it's a lot. You just go with what you enjoy, and the wood framing is a lot more our alley as the masonry. So, but yeah, we've done pretty much everything there is to be done in this game. We used to go around Black Lake, a lot of them little old cabins, they were built up on posts and poles and stumps, and we would go in there and jack them up and dig them out and lay a foundation underneath them and set them back down onto blocks because they were settling and rotting away. And I don't know, there's not much, I don't think, in the construction game that we haven't done over the years. Been very fortunate to been able to work around this area our whole life. The furthest I've probably ever driven from Onaway to do a job, 60, 70 miles tops, and that's saying a lot. Most of the time I'm within 30 miles of my doorstep. And for a community this size to have supported this many families and made us a living as many years as it has, very, very, very blessed that it's worked out well. And it was mostly a whim. Things were tight in the 80s, and my dad decided to go out on his own and try to start doing carpentry, basically to put food on the table, and it just grew. It's we're one of the biggest construction companies in northern Michigan. Been at it for 35 plus years, and I'm very proud of that.
Now, you said you put the heated floors in this house. Is this the first time you've done that?
It's the first time we've used the product that we're using. We've done heated floors before, but it's kind of a newer technology. The heated floors, up to this point, you would usually pour up. You would lay down the heat tubes in a series of S loops, and the standard procedure up till now is once you get them laid down, then you would pour 1.5 inches of what we call slurry concrete, very thin, very workable layer of concrete over top, and that would have been your working surface, and you have to put your flooring up from there. This particular job, we decided to go with a newer type product called warm board, and what it is 4x4 panels that are dadoed out every 7 inches, and it's basically 3/4 plywood that's wrapped it out with slots in it. You nail it down, and you just snap the 5/16 PEX tube in it, make loops in it, and that's what the heating will be pumped through the floor. It's just hot water heat, but it's pumped through the floor system at about 20 psi at 180 degrees. You can regulate your temperatures, and they say it's the most efficient way to heat your home because first off it's silent, and second of all it's 100% efficient because you don't lose any heat. It's not like a forced air system where you're blowing hot air out and sucking cool back. Everything comes directly from the top, from the floor, and rises straight to the ceiling, so you don't lose any heat. It's very, very economical as well. Plus you can put it in zones, and you can regulate each room to a certain temperature. So the rooms you're not using, you can keep down 50, 55 degrees, and the rooms that you want to use, you can keep them whatever temperature you want. Everybody else, that's kind of the way our homes we've always tried to, we build custom homes, and so we try to put our own touch on many of the things inside them as we can, so you don't have the same thing as the other guy next door. That's what we've always kind of tried to do over the years, and that's the kind of stuff I enjoy doing, and that's why I really enjoyed when I started laying tile, because you can really make it your own. You can really kind of if the homeowners give you the leeway, you can pretty much use your own judgment, your own artistic ability on it, and give them something that they can't buy anywhere.
The skylight thing.
No, we have a sun tube, which is also something that we would use quite often. It comes down into the main hallway of the second floor, and all it is basically you have a dome with a reflective light on, a refractive lens on it, sticks through, and you mount those facing south as a rule on the south side of your home, and then it's kind of like a answer to a skylight when you have a very high-pitched house where you don't have enough room to tunnel the light in. You put the dome on the roof, basically has a bunch of prisms on it, and then you hook a reflective tube to it, and you can pretty much funnel light down into any room of the house that you want. It gives you natural light in rooms where you're not able to, like an interior room where you don't have a exterior window. It's become quite popular in the last 10 or 12 years. We're using them quite regularly now.
Now, does Nash Builders employ anyone else, another company, during the process?
Yeah, we employ several. On this particular project, Horrocks and Sons did the excavating and lot clearing, and Matt Barber, masonry out of Sheboygan, did the block and poured the cement in the crawl space and on the garage floor, and Double D Electric does our electrical work and runs the coax for the cable TV and stuff like that, and sets up the even the power at the pole and everything. So when we first get there, we have power to work with. Sprays Plumbing and Heating out of Sheboygan, they were doing our all of the heating and cooling, air conditioning. So there's a lot of different companies around the area that get work out of it. And Ellenberger Lumber and Pine Lumber of Millersburg both are supplying materials. So a lot of local dollars staying local, which is kind of nice. We always have tried to build all of our homes, tried to get our supplies out of either Millersburg or Onaway, just due to the fact that they're both local businesses. Try to keep the money local, it means a lot to the community, it means a lot to us,
How is it that you get jobs? How do you advertise?
Back in, my dad started this in '81, and he just advertised it in the paper and word of mouth and stuff, and by the 90s I went to work for him in '91, 10 years later, and by then things were booming enough to the point that it was pretty much just word of mouth, and it is to this day. We haven't, other than like at Christmas time and stuff, we'll put an ad in the paper, basically Merry Christmas or Happy New Year or whatever, but we haven't advertised since the 90s. But once you get enough jobs out there, as a rule, your work will speak for itself, and that's basically all we've done. Word of mouth. We do have a website, nashbuilders.com. We're starting to get quite a few hits on that now. But as far as advertising by print ads or advertising on the radio, we just haven't in the last 20 years. It just got enough homes out there, somebody goes into your house, hey, who built this, or who, it doesn't even have to be something we built the whole house, or who did that, or who did this, and before you know it, the phone rings, and away you go again. So that's, we've got over 50 homes alone, custom homes on Black Lake alone. We've got several on Mullet Lake and a few on Burt Lake, and lots of them on Lake Nettie and Lake May and Lake Ruth over by Millersburg. About 30 some odd years, you build quite a bit of stuff.
Can you explain how doorways work?
Yeah. When you frame a doorway, as a rule, you're opening up a section of wall that once was supporting, and so what you've got to do is you have to displace that weight. And so what you do when you cut the hole out, you have to put in what's called a header, and all it is basically a beam or a timber working laterally, being held by two vertical supports to displace the weight. And you frame a door opening 2 inches bigger than what size door you're going to put in. So if you're going to put in a 36-inch door, you want to have a 38-inch opening, and that allows for your 2 jambs and your hinges and your stops. Works, and it's the same with window openings. You want to, you're working on a span that should be being supported by studs. Well, anytime you cut a hole in the side of a dwelling or a wall, you have to displace the weight, and it is the same thing. You go back to using a header, a lateral timber that is spanning a certain distance and being held by 2 vertical supports, and that's the whole thing. You don't want to just put your hole in the wall and hope for the best, because it's going to sag. So, and you don't want that. So that's it's very important, structurally speaking, and it's very important to have all of your supports in the right places and out of the right materials and on the right distances. And print reading is very important to what I do. Worked on a lot of different jobs over the years, and some prints are good and some of them are written on a napkin, and so you got to just kind of learn and expect, know what to expect and what you need. And the building codes are very, very important to follow them, because if you don't, of course you're not going to get your green tag from the inspector. And so you have to be very, very, very self-conscious about what you do and how you do it. And probably the biggest thing about working in a small community and working in this small of a town for as many years as we have is putting out a good quality product time after time after time, because if you don't, you'll be gone. I mean, word of mouth, I spoke word of mouth earlier, it travels fast, and that's why we haven't had to advertise in 20 some odd years. When you have a good name, your reputation precedes you. It's the same as if you do shoddy work. It's going to catch up with you fast, and you're just going to disappear. So it's good to follow code and follow the billing laws and know what to do structurally, and build it, with integrity and strength.
Can you explain framing altogether?
Yeah, framing basically is just a series of supports. We have all heard the term studs, and that's what they are. They're wooden timbers, 2x4s or 2x6. They're all nailed together between 2 horizontal plates, and they're all vertical. Either on 16 or 24-inch centers. They serve the purpose of holding up the next story and or the roof system, whichever the case may be. The house we're on right now is 2 stories, so the first perimeter of framing holds up the second floor and all the beams that support it, and the floor decking, and then go on up the second floor and you frame again with another, all of your studs and your sheeting and your headers and your window openings, and all of them have to be placed in the right spots and directly above the ones below, and so they will hold up. It takes the weight straight up from the block foundation all the way up until you hit where the rafters are set, and the rafters are held in place, and that's where you'll put your plywood decking on the roof, and then put your membrane down, and then your shingles, and that's what will keep the weather out of the rest of your house. And it's very important that all of that stuff line up. Even as far as that goes, I mean, it's as simple as it's clear down to the foundation, right down to the very point when they dig the first hole in the ground. You got to get below, we're all dealing with up here in the North Country, you got to get below frost level, and everybody, what's frost level? Well, it's the depth of which the frost will be driven into the ground during the winter. And up here in sandy soil, which is where we're building in right now, they figure that it's around 36 to 42 inches, and in heavier ground like clay and black dirt, they want you down around 48 to 52 inches, and that's to the very bottom of the hole that you dig in. That's where you're going to put your cement footing in, and then start laying your block up from there. So in the spring, when the weather warms back up and the frost pushes back up through the soil and comes up, it's not below your dwelling, heaving your footings and raising the house and causing cracks. If you ever went by a building or been in a building and you see that the blocks have got cracks in the mortar or splits in the block, it's because the foundation has moved, it's heaved, as they say, it's caused it to crack. So knowing all of those different things is very important. I mean, right down to, like on this home, you know, there's several covered porches. It's the same thing with the porches. You have to dig, when you dig the holes to put the posts in the ground, you gotta get below frost level before you pour the cement pad. Otherwise, in the spring, it'll heave the posts and your porch roof will look like a rainbow. And so it's all those little things. It's all those things that are important in building a good structurally integrity wise a house that'll stand the test of time.
I just had something too. I can't remember what I was going to say at all. Shoot. Oh, is there anything you've had any major difficulties or problems with this house? Because I know sometimes the weather ends up.
Yeah, the weather can play a very, very, very big role in a house project. This particular house, no, not. We didn't have a ton of fight with the weather. Even starting as late in the years, we did. We had a couple of major rains before the roof was on, but we use a plywood on our floor systems that is basically a waterproofing that keeps the plywood good for up to 90 days in the rain. And so we fought the rain a little bit, which put the project back probably a week and a half. We were very fortunate. We were able to get the roof on and the windows in it just before the snow started. I probably would have spent a few more weeks outside. Had the weather not changed as quickly as it did, I probably would have finished siding the outside of it before we went inside this year. As it is, winter came early and it stayed, so we moved straight in and got the wiring done and the plumbing done, and so we were able to come in and insulate and start drywalling. So now that we're inside, we'll stay right there until the inside is done, ready to move in, and then when the spring thaws come, we'll go outside, finish up the decks, and get the siding on it, and move on our merry way. So, yeah, sometimes the weather can be a very, very big fight on a project. Knock on wood, this one we were pretty lucky. It didn't fight us very much at all. I was very, very pleased. But the weather can be very intricate to it. It can throw a project off by weeks, just a couple of days of rain. As if we have to pull out and then the plumbers have to pull out or the electricians have to pull out, that means you have to go to a different job so you can keep making money, and you go to a different job and you have to finish that job up, and by the time you get back it might be a week for you and 2 weeks for them guys and this and that, and it backs the project up. But no, we've been very fortunate on this one. Haven't had no delays on this one.
Can you give me some final remarks?
Just that I'm very proud of what I do. Very proud of the business that my father has started. I look forward to carrying it on. Hope that it stands the test of time just like our homes do, and that I'm able to leave it as a legacy for my own children.
Thank you very much.
Yep.